I've told you I think Darvin Ham's going to be fired today, tomorrow, as they do their exit interviews with the Lakers. Charles Barkley had this to say late last night on TNT.
Part of our job, we watch all the games and we watch all the talk shows. You know, a lot of these people on television, they're cowards because they want the players to like them. They don't want to do their job, which is to tell the truth. And I just want to say this about coaching. Anybody who thinks the reason the Lakers suck is because of Darvin Ham or the reason the Suns suck is because of Frank Vogel, you don't know what you're talking about. Frank Vogel is a hell of a coach. Darvin Ham is a hell of a coach trying to get his career started. But for all you punks, idiots, and jackasses on other networks who want to be media and who want all the players to like y'all, do your damn job. The Lakers suck and the Suns suck because of the players. Has nothing to do with the coaches. I feel better now.
Here, I can tell. Looks like you're getting that off your chest.
I did. I hate it, man. You sit there like Darvin Ham needs to get fired. Frank Vogel needs to get fired. Who put them teams together? Them trash-ass teams put together need to get fired. Them guys, they didn't just all of a sudden suck as coaches. People who put them teams together they start packing up their stuff.
Hey, listen, the last part he said is accurate. These two things can both be true. Okay? The teams can be poorly constructed, but part of that construction can be with the coach. I've said this, I think Frank Vogel's a really good coach. He was a really bad fit for that team. That team was a mess because you kept Kevin Young, who's now the head coach at BYU, when he was the runner-up for the job. He has a close tie to Devin Booker. Okay? Devin Booker and KD, not a great fit together. Right? They have different ways of looking at the game. And Kevin Young and Frank Vogel, not a great fit. And Frank Vogel, not a great fit for Booker. Brad Beal, not ready. So I don't think you fire Frank Vogel, but one of the reasons you don't fire Frank Vogel is he won in Indy. He won in LA. So he has that sort of credibility. Darvin Ham hadn't done anything. Darvin Ham's not a good coach, Charles. He's not. Okay? And you can sit there and go, the Lakers roster is trash. I don't love the Lakers roster. They made a bunch of mistakes along the way. A bunch of mistakes. Some of them were triggered by Clutch. A lot of them were Pelinka's in terms of trying to manage the thing. But Darvin Ham he's not a good coach for the Lakers. Darvin Ham, he just isn't. If you watched the games all season, kind of lost the team for a good portion of the year. That's one reason they sucked. Hey, now, Darvin Ham supported D'Angelo Russell. And I don't know if he was one of the ones that wanted to re-sign D'Angelo Russell, but D'Angelo Russell was not good. He was not good enough to play against Nuggets last year. He was not good enough to play against Nuggets this year. That's why they went out and got Gabe Vincent. But he wasn't healthy. But the question is, why'd you re-sign D'Angelo Russell? Remember, you only traded for D'Angelo Russell because you had to get rid of Russell Westbrook. And you only kept Russell Westbrook because Darvin Ham said he could work with him. And that didn't work out. And look, here's the only thing that matters. LeBron James, if he thinks Darvin Ham should be the head coach of the Lakers, Darvin Ham will be the head coach of the Lakers. If he doesn't, he'll allow them to fire whoever. Mark Medina joins us, Fox Sports Radio NBA insider. I love Charles. He's a friend. I texted with him last night and a little bit this morning about it. I work for a different network, but I don't care about that the players like me, if the coaches like me, whatever. Darvin Ham's going to get fired, and everyone around the Lakers doesn't think it's a good fit. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're spot on. And look, I mean, kudos to you and Chuck for always telling the truth and how you feel. I mean, I think the point that you're making is things don't have to be mutually exclusive. The Lakers had a flawed roster. Some of it was good, some of it bad. And Darvin Ham last season he managed personalities well, but his X's and O's limitations, were always there, and it glared even brighter his second season. So, the Lakers haven't made anything official. I think it's telling that Rob Pelinka hasn't done any exit meetings. There's nothing planned, this week as of now, at least for the media. So, but it just seems like it's a matter of time. And no one's saying this out loud, but I can't help but connect the dots here. You look at the Clippers facing potential elimination on Friday, Game 6. Ty Lue was a possible candidate a few years ago. Obviously, has history with LeBron James. He is among many qualities that he has that's well respected around the league, is he knows how to make adjustments. I can't just help but think that the two things are related here.
I tend to agree. He's a play hard, play harder, play together sort of guy, and that doesn't fit this team.
Yeah, and I think it's telling. I mean, I think that the Clippers deserve a lot of the blame for Game 5's debacle yesterday, but he's the one who shielded the players from scrutiny. He said, hey, I have to do a better job in putting James Harden and Russell Westbrook in position to succeed, and I don't think that's correct. I think that those players didn't show up, but I think it speaks to the larger point that he has a better messaging with trying to show that he's going to find ways to protect players from themselves and maximize their strengths, shield them from their weaknesses. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they're doing. But the interesting backstory about this, Doug, is they had him as their first option,
right?
After
only offered
firing Luke Walton,
only offered him a 3-year contract
terms,
yeah, which is what they offered to everybody. But that's kind of the Laker way. Lakers are cheap; they've always been cheap towards everybody outside of the players. So it's kind of interesting. Does Ty? I said this. I tweeted this the other day. Which the loser of this series, meaning if it's Ty Lue, is he the next head coach of the Lakers?
I wouldn't be surprised. Again, this is no one saying anything about this directly to me. I'm just connecting the dots and seeing the writing on the wall as you are. That would be my first guess. And I think that the other thing is there's no other available candidate right now unless they want to promote Phil Handy, who's a great, I think, assistant player development coach, and I think he'd do a good job. But, if they're talking about win now and, someone that has a definitive resume outside of Ty Lue potential being available, there's no one there. I mean, technically Frank Vogel could be, but they obviously already have history there, and that's not going to happen. So I think it will be Ty Lue.
Does Vogel keep his job?
Yeah. The Suns, I'm trying to make sense of their messaging because they seem to contradict themselves during exit meetings yesterday with Matt Ishbia and James Jones. My suspicion is that because Matt Ishbia put so much money into this roster and it flamed out and he wants to make changes, that's the low-hanging fruit that he'll do. It doesn't address the problems because it was mostly roster construction. But I think that, that's the easy source of change before they have to make the potentially more difficult decisions on what they do with any of their big three. Because right now, this idea of improving from within, that doesn't seem realistic because the big three haven't been consistently healthy. They're role players. I think they've been more than vet minimum guys, but clearly it wasn't enough for them to have real playoff success. But then the other end is that they can't really do much from a cap perspective other than just shuffling some role players around. But that doesn't really address the problem to begin with.
I think they make him shuffle the staff. I think they make him shuffle the staff, and they see if I don't think they move off of the big three just because the one they'd want to move is immovable, which is Brad Beal. Mm-hmm. But that's what I think. But I agree with you. Ishbia had a great press conference where he's like, "There's been no discussion." He's like, "That's what we're going to do the next couple of days." Wait, so which is it? You're not discussing it, or you haven't discussed it yet? It's that was a weird one. The Knicks come from behind to beat the Sixers in Philly. Then the Sixers come from behind to beat the Knicks in the Garden. And we have just kind of curious performances by Joel Embiid. How much pressure is there on Philadelphia to win?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because there's definitely pressure because of the fact that, they've underachieved in the playoffs, and Joel Embiid has been one of the MVP candidates. I think going into the series, there wasn't as much pressure only because they had the 7th seed. Joel Embiid's coming off an injury, even though they closed out the regular season with a strong winning streak. There was, I think some wait and see expectations of knowing that he's going to be playing well and it's a net upgrade, but there could be some limitations. So I don't want to say I give them a pass if they lose the Knicks because they've been disappointing in past seasons. But if the Knicks do advance, I'm more high on how the Knicks have been playing, especially without Julius Randle, than anything else. That's, again, I think to the earlier part of your segments, these things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Both things can be correct, but I would take away more about, hey, Jalen Brunson's amazing, and he's riding through the ups and downs of his own play, and the Knicks are very resilient as opposed to how the Sixers are faring or not faring.
Lillard or Giannis, likelihood either or both plays tonight?
Well, technically it looks like Damian Lillard's more likely to play. He was upgraded questionable. Giannis is still considered doubtful. But even if Damian Lillard's more likely to play, there's still a lot of question marks as far as just what his workload's going to be. Those Achilles scares are very dicey, and you don't want to mess around with that. So, my hunch is it seems more likely Damian plays than Giannis. But even if either of them play, or if just Damian plays, it's going to be a limited workload, and they're going to have this mindset that, hey, guys like Chris Middleton and Bobby Portis are going to have to replicate what they did in Game 5 to eliminate, to avoid elimination against Indiana.
And none of this is talking about the actual great series, which is still upcoming, which is the Wolves against Nuggets. Can't wait to see that one. And then, of course, the Thunder await likely, we think, the Mavericks or Luka's great performance, but. We wait and we see what happens with the end of these series. Last thing, what's Miami do in the offseason to get back to where they want to be?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Doug, because I think the easy and most obvious answer is it's run its course. They got to, blow it up and collect assets. But knowing how Pat Riley's been with the Heat, they never have gone through a rebuilding stage where they just start over. I mean, they've certainly had transitions post LeBron exit, et cetera, but they've always been in the mix, and they've much rather have been a team that still has a fighting chance to make the playoffs as opposed to going lottery mode. And so with that, backstory, my hunch is that they'll continue leaning on the fact that they have Eric Spoelstra and they'll try to make the most of their existing roster. But, I'm a Bam Adebayo fan. He still has a lot of career left in him. But everywhere else, it's a lot of old players that they have to make tough decisions on. But, I trust Pat Riley of how shrewd of an executive he is, but I'm skeptical that he wants to go down that lane, and he'll continue to try to find that middle ground, as difficult as it is.
Marcus, is awesome stuff, man. Really appreciate you joining us. Enjoy the hoops tonight. We'll talk soon.
Always appreciate you, Doug.
All right, Funky Cold, Mark Medina with he's our Fox Sports Radio NBA insider.